Admiral Kethver stood on the bridge of his massive warship, looking out at the stars. His ship was so big that it could hold 1,000,000 soldiers. Around him floated hundreds of other ships, all part of the Zephyrian hegemony's 47th Conquest Fleet. They had traveled far from home, crossing the empty space between galaxies to reach this new place. The Zephyrians were proud of their empire. They ruled over 12 whole galaxies. Thousands of different alien races bowed to their power. Their technology was the best in the known universe. Their weapons could destroy planets. Their shields could stop any attack. No enemy had ever beaten them in a real fight. Kethver had gray skin that looked like stone. His forearms moved quickly as he checked the reports from his scouts. His red eyes glowed in the dim light of the bridge. He had conquered 47 star systems in his long career. This new galaxy would be number 48. "Admiral," said his second-in-command, Officer Vexhai. "The scout ships have found something strange at the edge of this galaxy." Kethver turned his massive head. "What kind of strange?" "Warning beacons, sir. Thousands of them. They orbit every star system along the galaxy's border." "Show me." The main screen lit up with images from the scout ships. Floating in space were metal objects the size of small moons. They were old and covered with strange markings. Green lights blinked on their surfaces in steady patterns. "What do they say?" Kethver asked. Vexhai touched his control panel. The speakers filled with noise. It sounded like many different voices talking at once in languages that made no sense. "Our computers have been working on this for 3 days," Vexhai said. "They have translated some of it. The message is the same on all beacons, but it comes in hundreds of different languages. And it says quarantine zone, do not enter apex predator species present. Over and over, sir, that's all it says." Kethver laughed. The sound was deep and scary. Other officers on the bridge joined in. The idea was funny to them. "Apex predators?" Kethver said. "We are the apex predators. We have conquered more worlds than any empire in history. What could possibly be dangerous to us?" He walked to the big window that showed space ahead of them. The new galaxy hung there like a giant wheel of light. It looked peaceful and quiet. "Sir," said another officer, "the beacons are very old. Some of them have been here for thousands of years." "Maybe. Even longer. So what?" Kethver said. "Old fears from weak races. They probably put these warnings here to scare away raiders and pirates." "Well, we are not raiders or pirates. We are the Zephyrian hegemony." He turned back to his officers. "How many star systems are in this galaxy?" "About 400 billion, sir." "And how many have intelligent life?" "Our long-range scans show maybe 10 million systems with advanced civilizations." Kethver nodded. 10 million new races to conquer. Think of all the resources, all the new technology to steal, all the new slaves to put to work in our factories. The bridge crew made excited noises. They had done this many times before. It was always the same. They would arrive at a new galaxy. The local races would try to fight back. The hegemony would crush them easily. Then the real work would begin, taking everything of value and adding it to their empire. "Sir," Vexhai said, "what should we do about the warning beacons?" "Destroy them," Kethver said without thinking about it. "All of them. I don't want some scared merchant ship turning back because of old ghost stories." "Yes, sir." The fleet moved forward. Their weapons charged up with bright energy. One by one, the ancient warning beacons exploded in balls of fire. Each explosion lit up space for a moment, then faded away. Soon, there was nothing left but metal debris floating in the dark dock as they destroyed the last beacon. Kethver felt proud. He had removed a barrier that had stood for thousands of years. Now nothing stood between his fleet and total conquest of this galaxy. "Begin the invasion," he ordered. "Start with the outer rim systems. Work our way toward the center." "Standard protocol. What about the warnings, sir?" asked the young officer. "What if they were telling the truth?" Kethver stared at the officer with his glowing red eyes. The young alien quickly looked down at his controls. "Officer Tekkanen," Kethver said slowly, "how many galaxies have we conquered?" 12, sir. And, how many times have we found a species that could threaten us? Never, sir, exactly. Do you know why we are called the hegemony? Because we rule over everyone else, sir? That's right. We rule because we are stronger, smarter, and better than everyone else. We have the best weapons, the best ships, and the best soldiers. No primitive species in this backward galaxy can change that. The fleet moved deeper into the galaxy. Their sensors swept ahead looking for the first targets. They found them quickly. A cluster of star systems with several intelligent species. The races there had built cities on their planets and ships that could travel between stars. But their technology was weak compared to the hegemony's power. Perfect, Kethver said as he looked at the readings. These will be easy conquests. We'll be done with this whole galaxy in less than a year. The invasion began 3 days later. Hegemony ships appeared in the skies above the first alien worlds. The local defenders tried to fight back with their primitive weapons. Laser beams and missiles bounced off hegemony shields like raindrops. Within hours, the first planets surrendered. Just like always, Kethver told his officers as they watched the enemy ships explode on the main screen. Fear and submission. That's all any species knows when they face us. But as the days passed and they conquered more worlds, Kethver started hearing strange reports. The conquered aliens kept talking about something. They whispered about a part of the galaxy that scared them. They called it the Dead Zone or the Forbidden Arm. What are they talking about? Kethver asked Vexhai. It seems to be a spiral. Arm on the far side of the galaxy, sir. The aliens say no one goes there. Why not? They won't say exactly. But they all mention the same thing, a yellow star with a small rocky planet. They call the beings there humans. Kethver laughed. Again, humans? What kind of name is that? Sounds weak. As the conquest continued, more and more aliens mentioned these humans. They said strange things about them. That they were dangerous, that they never gave up, that they turned everything into a weapon, that they enjoyed fighting impossible battles. Superstition. Kethver said when his officers brought him these reports. Primitive minds creating boogeyman stories to explain their own failures. The warnings from the destroyed beacons were forgotten. The hegemony fleet moved deeper into the galaxy, conquering world after world. But in the dark space around a yellow star called Sol, ancient sensors detected the approaching fleet. And something began to wake up. 3 months had passed since the hegemony entered the galaxy. Admiral Kethver looked at the conquest reports with satisfaction. His fleet had taken over 2,000 star systems. 43 different alien species now served the hegemony. As slaves, the pattern was always the same. His ships would appear in a system. The locals would panic and try to fight. Their weapons would fail against hegemony shields. Within days, sometimes hours, they would surrender. Then the real work began, taking their resources, their technology, and their people. Sir, Officer Vexhai said as he entered the Admiral's private chamber. We have finished processing the Kellian species. Their world is now under full hegemony control. Kethver nodded. The Kellians had been tougher than most. They had fought for almost a week before giving up. But in the end, they fell just like all the others. What's next? He asked. The Morduk system, sir. Intelligence says they have advanced shield technology that might be useful for our ships. Good, send the 5th Battle Group, standard conquest protocol. Vexhai hesitated. Sir, there's something else. The prisoners keep talking about the same thing. All of them, from every species we've conquered. What thing? The humans, sir. Every alien we capture mentions them. They all seem terrified of even saying the name. Kethver stood up from his command chair. His massive form cast a shadow across the chamber. Show me the reports. Vexhai activated a holographic display. Images of different alien prisoners appeared in the air. Each one was from a different species. Some had fur, others had scales, some looked like insects. But they all had the same look of fear in their eyes when they talked. The first image was of a Kellian prisoner. It looked like a large cat that walked on 2 legs. Its voice came through the speakers. "You don't understand," it said in broken hegemony language. "Humans are not like us." "They don't think like us?" "We fight to survive. They fight to win. There is a difference." The next image was a Thracari, a species that looked like walking crystals. "My grandfather told me stories," it said. "Stories about the humans. They came to our sector once long ago. Pirates were attacking our trade routes. The humans offered to help. We said no. We were proud. We could handle it ourselves. But the attacks got worse. Finally, we asked for help. The humans came. In 3 days, there were no more pirates. Not captured. Not scared away. Gone, all of them. The humans had found every pirate base in 12 systems and destroyed them completely. A third alien appeared, a Vextorian with 6 arms and blue skin. The humans trade with some species, it said nervously, but they have rules. Strange rules. If you break their rules, they don't just stop trading. They make sure you can never trade with anyone again. They destroy your economy, your infrastructure, everything, but they do it slowly so you know it's happening, so you suffer. Kethver waved his hand and the images disappeared. "Fear stories," he said. "These species are weak. They create myths about stronger enemies to explain their own failures." "But sir," Vexhai said carefully, "all the stories are similar. They all say the same things about humans. That they're unpredictable, that they use weapons and tactics no one else would think of, that they never accept defeat." "Officer Vexhai," Kethver said in a warning tone, "are you suggesting that some primitive species could threaten the hegemony?" "No, sir, of course not. I'm just saying maybe we should be careful when we reach their system." Kethver walked to his window and looked out at the stars. The conquest was going well. Too well, perhaps. His officers were getting soft, worrying about ghost stories from defeated enemies. "Where is this human system?" he asked. Vexhai consulted his datapad. "It's called the Sol System, sir. It's in what the locals call the Orion Arm, a small spiral arm on the outer edge of the galaxy. The star is yellow, Class G. There are 8 planets. The humans live on the third one. They call it Earth." "How many humans are there?" "Unknown, sir. Long-range scans are blocked by some kind of interference, but intelligence suggests maybe 10 billion individuals." Kethver laughed. 10 billion? "We have conquered species with populations 100 times larger. This will be the easiest victory." Yet, over the following weeks, the hegemony continued its advance through the galaxy. Each new conquest brought more strange stories about humans. The aliens spoke of them in whispers, like they were discussing dangerous spirits. A Zeklian prisoner told them, "Humans don't just fight with weapons and ships. They fight with ideas, with words, with fear. I heard of a human who conquered an entire planet just by talking to people. No army, no fleet. Just words." A Porthan slave said, "My people tried to attack a human colony once. We had superior numbers, better weapons, the advantage of surprise. We lost anyway. The humans turned our own strategy against us. They made us defeat ourselves." The strangest story came from a Euridian commander who had survived a battle in the Outer Rim. "The humans came to help defend our world against raiders," he said. "There were only 12 human ships against 300 enemy vessels. We thought they would run away. Instead, they split up. Each human ship went after 25 enemy ships. We thought they were committing suicide, but somehow they won. All 12 human ships survived. All 300 raiders were destroyed. When we asked them how, they just said they had studied the enemy and found their weaknesses." "Impossible," Kethver said when he heard this report. "No species can defeat odds like that." But the stories kept coming. Every conquered species had some tale about humans. They spoke of human merchants who could out-negotiate anyone, human explorers who could survive in places that killed everyone else, human soldiers who could turn defeat into victory through pure stubbornness. "Sir," said Officer Tekkanen, the young officer who had questioned the Admiral before, "maybe we should approach the human system differently. Instead of standard conquest protocol, maybe we should try diplomacy first." The bridge went silent. Every officer stared at Tekkanen like he had said something terrible. Kethver's voice was deadly quiet. Officer Tekkanen, in my 400 years of service, we have never used diplomacy first. Do you know why? No, sir. Because diplomacy is what weak species use when they cannot win through strength. We are not weak. We do not negotiate with primitives. We conquer them. Yes, sir, I apologize, sir. But privately, Kethver was beginning to wonder. The reports were too consistent, too detailed. Every species told similar stories about human capabilities. Either there was some truth to these stories, or humans had somehow convinced dozens of different species to spread the same lies. Vexhai, he said later when they were alone, what do our long-range sensors tell us about this sol system? That's the strange part, sir. We can't get clear readings. There's some kind of interference. Natural phenomena, probably. Solar radiation, magnetic fields, that sort of thing. Or artificial interference designed to hide something. You think the humans know we're coming? Kethver considered this. If they're as smart as these stories suggest, they would have detected our fleet by now. The question is, what are they doing about it? The answer came 2 days later. A small, human ship appeared at the edge of hegemony space. It was tiny compared to their massive warships, no bigger than a fighter craft. It broadcast a simple message in perfect hegemony language. This is Captain Sarah Chun of the United Earth Federation. I request permission to come aboard your flagship under diplomatic protocols. I come alone and unarmed. I have a message from my government. Kethver stared at the small ship on his view screen. After months of hearing stories about humans, he was finally going to meet one. Should we destroy it, sir? Asked Vexhai. No, Kethver said after a long pause. Let it dock. I want to see what this human has to say. It might be amusing. But as the small ship approached his massive dreadnought, Kethver felt something he had not experienced in centuries of conquest. He felt uncertain. The human was coming to him, alone, unarmed, into the heart of a fleet that could destroy worlds. Either this human was incredibly brave, or incredibly stupid, or perhaps Kethver thought with a chill the human knew something he did not. Captain Sarah Chun walked into Admiral Kethver's command chamber with steady steps. She was small compared to the massive Zephyrian, barely reaching his waist. Her brown hair was tied back in a simple ponytail. She wore a plain blue uniform. With no weapons or armor, Kethver studied her carefully. This was his first time seeing a human up close. She looked so ordinary. 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head. Soft pink skin that looked fragile. How could something so weak create so much fear? Among other species? Welcome aboard my ship, human, Kethver said in a voice meant to intimidate. I am Admiral Kethver of the Zephyrian Hegemony's 47th Conquest Fleet. You said you have a message? Sarah looked around the chamber calmly. Her eyes took in every detail, the guards, the weapons, the control panels. She showed no fear at all. I do, she said. My government asked me to deliver this in person. She reached into her jacket pocket. Every guard in the room raised their weapons, but she moved slowly, showing she meant no harm. She pulled out a small data pad and held it up. May I? Kethver nodded. Sarah activated the pad and began to read. To the commanders of the Zephyrian Hegemony, we know why you have come to our galaxy. We know what you have done to the other species. Here, we know you plan to do the same to us. We have a simple message. Leave now and never return. This is your only warning, Kethver laughed. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. His officers joined in, making a chorus of mocking sounds. That's it, Kethver asked. That's your message? A warning? Do you know who you're talking to, little human? Sarah put the data pad away. Admiral Kethver, commander of the 47th Conquest Fleet, 400 years of service, conquered 47 star systems before coming here. Born on Zephyr Prime, graduated from the Imperial War College with honors. Your favorite color is red because it reminds you of your first victory. You have a mate named Kelsira and 3 offspring back home. Should I continue? The chamber went silent. Kethver's red eyes narrowed dangerously. How do you know these things? We know lots of things, Admiral. We know the exact specifications of your ships. We know your battle tactics. We know your supply routes. We've been watching you since you entered our galaxy 3 months ago. Impossible. Our stealth technology is perfect. Sarah smiled. Your stealth technology is very good. But you made one mistake. You assumed the species you conquered would stay conquered. They didn't. Many of them contacted us immediately after you left their systems. Kethver felt a chill run through his body. What are you saying? I'm saying that every species you've conquered has been feeding us information about your fleet. Ship types, weapon capabilities, shield frequencies, command codes. They want revenge, Admiral. And we're going to help them get it. You're bluffing, Kethver said, but his voice was less certain now. Even with inside information, you can't defeat us. We have 1,000,000 ships. You have one small planet. Actually, we have 8 planets in our system, Sarah corrected. And, about 50,000 colonies spread across this spiral arm. And you don't have 1,000,000 ships anymore. What do you mean? Sarah pulled out another device. This one projected a holographic map of the galaxy. Red dots showed hegemony fleet positions. But something was wrong. Many of the dots were flashing. Yellow or had disappeared entirely. While you've been conquering your way through the outer rim, Sarah said, we've been busy. Supply convoys going missing. Communication relays being destroyed. Forward bases experiencing technical problems, nothing that would seem connected, nothing that would raise alarms. Just random accidents and equipment failures. Kethver stared at the map. You've been attacking us? We've been preparing, Admiral. The species you conquered were very helpful. They told us exactly where your supply lines were, where your fuel depots were hidden, where your communication centers were located. We've been cutting your support network piece by piece. The Admiral turned to his communications officer. Get me a status report on all our rear positions. Now, the officer's face went pale as reports came in. Sir, we're getting emergency signals from dozens of our installations. Supply Depot 7 is gone. Fuel Station 12 is not responding. The communication relay at Kepler 442 went offline an hour ago. How many ships do we actually have combat-ready? Kethver demanded. Checking, sir. The officer worked frantically at his controls. Sir, with the supply problems and technical failures, we have maybe 300,000 ships that can fight effectively. Sarah nodded. That sounds about right. Still impressive numbers, Admiral. But here's something else you should know. We've been studying your species for months. We've analyzed your psychology, your culture, your military doctrine. We know how you think. Impossible. You are superior to species that fight the way you expect them to fight, Sarah interrupted. You expect enemies to meet you in open battle with traditional tactics. You expect them to try to match your superior technology. You expect them to surrender when they realize they can't win. She walked closer to Kethver, showing no fear of his massive size. But we don't fight that way, Admiral. We don't try to match your technology. We don't meet you in open battle on your terms. We don't surrender when the odds are against us. We do something your species has never learned to do. What? We cheat. The lights in the chamber suddenly went out. Emergency power kicked in a second later, bathing everything in red light. Alarm sounds echoed through the ship. Sir, the communications officer shouted. We're under attack. Multiple contacts throughout the fleet. Impossible. Kethver roared. Our sensors would have detected any approaching fleet. Sarah smiled in the red emergency lighting. Who said anything about a fleet? On the main screen, images appeared from throughout the hegemony formation. But there were no enemy ships visible. Instead, hegemony vessels were exploding one by one. Bright flashes lit up space as massive warships died. What's happening? Kethver demanded. Mines, Sarah said calmly. Thousands of them. We seeded them. Throughout this region of space over the past month, they're designed to look like space debris or asteroids. Your ships are flying right into them. Our shields should stop mines. Not these mines. They're built using information your own conquered. Species gave us about your shield frequencies. They're designed to slip right through your defenses. More ships exploded on the screen. Kethver watched his fleet being torn apart by invisible enemies. You sneaky little... He started toward Sarah, but she held up a hand. I wouldn't, Admiral. My ship is programmed to explode if I don't return in exactly 30 minutes, and it's currently docked inside your hangar bay. The explosion would crack your ship's hull like an egg. Kethver stopped. You would kill yourself just to damage my ship, if necessary, but I'd prefer not to. I have a better offer. What offer? Surrender now, and we'll let you leave our galaxy alive. Keep fighting, and we'll destroy every ship you have. Your choice. Kethver looked at the screen where his fleet was still being destroyed by the hidden mines. Then he looked at this small human who had walked alone into the heart of his fleet and calmly threatened him. You're insane, he said. Maybe, Sarah agreed. But we're also winning. You have 15 minutes to decide, Admiral. After that, the real attack begins. Real attack? This isn't your real attack? Sarah's smile became wider and somehow more frightening. Admiral, what you're seeing now is just us saying hello. You want to see what humans can do when we're actually trying to hurt someone? She gestured to the screen where another hegemony dreadnought was exploding. Keep fighting and you'll find out. For the first time in his 400 years of conquest, Admiral Kethver felt something completely new. He felt afraid. Admiral Kethver made his choice. He chose to fight. All ships battle formation, he commanded as Captain Sarah Chun left his flagship. Find those mines and destroy them. I want every human world turned to glass. The hegemony fleet, even damaged, was still massive. 300,000 warships moved toward the Sol system like a metal storm, their weapons charged up with deadly energy. Their shields glowed with protective power, but as they approached Earth's solar system, strange things began to happen. The first sign of trouble came from the outer planets. Scout ships reported that the gas giant Jupiter was surrounded by what looked like a ring of space stations. But when the scouts moved closer to investigate, the stations opened fire with weapons that cut through hegemony shields like paper. Sir, reported Officer Vexhai, those aren't space stations. They're ships, thousands of them. They were hiding in Jupiter's radiation field where our sensors couldn't detect them properly. On the main screen, images showed sleek human vessels emerging from behind planets and moons throughout the system. They moved with perfect coordination, like a pack of hunters surrounding their prey. Impossible, Kethver muttered. Intelligence said humans only had a few hundred ships. Intelligence was wrong, sir. We're counting at least 50,000 human vessels. And they're using some kind of new technology. Their weapons are penetrating our shields. Kethver watched in growing horror as his advanced ships were destroyed by human forces. The human ships were smaller than hegemony vessels, but they moved faster and hit harder. Worse, they seemed to know exactly where to strike to cause maximum damage. How are they doing this? He demanded. His answer came from his communications officer. Sir, we're picking up transmissions between the human ships. They're speaking in the languages of the species we conquered. And those species are talking back. What? The conquered species, sir? They're here? They're fighting alongside the humans. The main screen split to show multiple views of the battle. Kethver saw Kellyan fighters moving in formation with human ships, Thrakari crystal vessels providing cover fire, Vextorian supply ships keeping everyone armed and fueled. Dozens of species that should have been safely conquered and enslaved. We're here, fighting back. This is impossible. Kethver roared. We left garrison forces on their worlds. How did they escape? The answer came from an intercepted human transmission. A voice speaking in perfect hegemony language said, Phase 2 complete. All liberation forces have successfully evacuated allied populations. Garrison forces neutralized or contained. Repeat, all garrison forces neutralized or contained. Kethver felt the deck shake under his feet as his flagship took a direct hit. They didn't just escape, he realized. They coordinated a galaxy-wide rebellion. While we were advancing toward Earth, they were freeing everyone we had conquered. The battle grew more intense. Human ships seemed to appear from everywhere. They used tactics no military academy had ever taught. Some ships rammed hegemony vessels at incredible speeds, their hulls exploding on impact but taking out much larger targets. Others released clouds of small fighters that swarmed over hegemony ships like angry insects. Most disturbing of all, the humans kept adapting. When hegemony forces tried a new strategy, the humans would counter it within minutes. When the hegemony changed their weapon frequencies, the humans would adjust their shields immediately. "It's like they can read our minds," HFY said as another group of hegemony ships was destroyed. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're getting a transmission from Earth. It's addressed to you personally." "Put it through." The screen showed a middle-aged human man in a military uniform. He had gray hair and calm eyes. Behind him, HFY could see what looked like a massive command center filled with humans and aliens working together. "Admiral HFY," the human said, "I am General Marcus Webb, Supreme Commander of the Terran Defense Force. I want to thank you." "Thank me?" HFY was confused. "Yes, your invasion of our galaxy has accomplished something we've been trying to do for centuries. You've united dozens of different species under a single cause. You've given us a common enemy to fight against. You've helped us build the largest military alliance in galactic history." On the screen behind the general, HFY could see representatives from every species his fleet had conquered. They were all working together, sharing information and resources. "This is impossible," HFY said. "These species hate each other. They've been fighting wars for thousands of years." "They were fighting," General Webb agreed. "But you taught them something important. You showed them what happens when a strong bully decides to conquer everyone. You gave them a reason to work together." The general touched something off-screen, and new images appeared. They showed human ships arriving at worlds throughout the galaxy. But instead of attacking, they were helping. Human engineers were repairing damaged cities. Human doctors were treating wounded aliens. Human teachers were sharing technology and knowledge. "While you were busy conquering," the general continued, "we were busy making friends. We offered help instead of demanding surrender. We shared our knowledge instead of stealing theirs. We treated them as equals instead of slaves." "Propaganda," HFY spat. "Is it? Tell me, Admiral, how many species in your empire actually want to be there? How many serve you out of loyalty instead of fear?" HFY had no answer for that. The battle continued to rage around them. But now HFY could see the truth. His fleet wasn't just fighting humans. It was fighting a coalition of species that had chosen to work together. They shared their strengths and covered each other's weaknesses. The crystal-based Thrakari provided powerful shields while the insect-like Zaklians offered swarm tactics. The gaseous Uridians could slip through spaces no solid ship could navigate, while the mechanical Porthan could repair damage in the middle of battle. And coordinating it all were the humans, turning this mix of different species into a single, deadly fighting force. "Sir," HFY said quietly, "our losses are approaching 60%. We've never faced anything like this." On the screen, General Webb was still talking. "You made one crucial mistake, Admiral. You assumed that because you were stronger individually, you would win. But you forgot something important about intelligent species. We learn, we adapt. We work together when we have to." A new voice spoke from behind the general. It was Captain Sarah Chun. "And Admiral," she said, "we really hate bullies." The human ships suddenly changed their attack pattern. Instead of fighting defensively, they went on the offensive. They moved in perfect coordination, striking at weak points in the hegemony formation. Ship after ship exploded under the concentrated fire, but the worst part wasn't the losses. It was what HFY could see happening to his own forces. Some hegemony ships were breaking formation. Others were trying to retreat. A few were even surrendering. His empire's greatest weapon had always been fear. Other species surrendered because they were afraid of hegemony power. But now, for the first time, it was hegemony forces who were afraid. "Sir?" his communications officer said in a shaking voice. We're getting surrender requests from 47. Of our ships, they want to give up. Kethver stared at the screen in disbelief. Hegemony forces didn't surrender. They fought to the death. It was their way, but as he watched, he saw one of his own dreadnoughts power down its weapons and broadcast a surrender signal. Then another. Then dozens more. The humans weren't just beating his forces, they were breaking them. What do we do, sir? Vexhai asked. Kethver looked at the tactical display. Half his fleet was destroyed or surrendering. The other half was scattered and demoralized. The humans and their allies were closing in from all sides. For the first time in his 400 years of conquest, Admiral Kethver faced the possibility of complete defeat, and the most terrifying part was that he was beginning to understand that this wasn't just about one battle or one system. This was about the end of the hegemony itself. The end came faster than Admiral Kethver had thought possible. His proud fleet of 300,000 ships was reduced to less than 50,000 in just 6 hours of fighting. The humans and their allies moved like a single organism, striking with perfect timing and overwhelming force, but the final blow came from an unexpected source. Sir, his communications officer said with panic in his voice, we're getting reports from home. All 12 galaxies under hegemony control are under attack. Kethver spun around from watching his fleet's destruction. What? That's impossible. Who's attacking them? Unknown ships, sir. But they're using human technology, and they know exactly where to strike. On the main screen, General Webb appeared again. Behind him, the command center was buzzing with activity as humans and aliens worked together. Hello again, Admiral, the general said calmly. I thought you should know what's happening in your home galaxies. The screen split to show dozens of different star systems. In each one, hegemony installations were under attack. But these weren't random raids. These strikes were perfectly coordinated, hitting the most important targets with surgical precision. How? Kethver whispered. Remember all those species you conquered over the years? General Webb asked. The ones you turned into slaves and servants? Well, they've been watching, learning, waiting, and when we contacted them and offered them a chance for freedom, they were very eager to help. Captain Sarah Chun stepped into view next to the general. Every species you conquered gave us detailed information about your empire, she said. Military bases, supply lines, command centers, factory worlds. They drew us maps of your entire civilization, Admiral. And then they volunteered to help us destroy it. New images appeared on the screen. Kethver saw hegemony shipyards burning, supply depots exploding, command bunkers collapsing. But most shocking of all, he saw his own conquered species fighting alongside human forces, using their knowledge of hegemony systems to cause maximum damage. This was planned, he realized, from the beginning. You never intended to just defend Earth. That's right, Sarah said. We intended to free everyone you had ever enslaved, every species, every world, every individual who suffered under hegemony. Rule. But that's impossible. Our empire spans 12 galaxies. Not anymore, General Webb said. As of 30 minutes ago, the last hegemony stronghold in the Andromeda Galaxy surrendered. Your empire is finished, Admiral. Kethver felt his legs go weak. He slumped into his command chair, staring at the images of his civilization being dismantled piece by piece. This is genocide, he said quietly. No, Sarah replied firmly. Genocide is what you did to hundreds of species over the centuries. What we're doing is justice. We're not killing your people, Admiral. We're freeing everyone else from your people. The communications officer interrupted with another report. Sir, we're getting a transmission from Zephyr Prime. It's the High Council. Put it through, Kethver said weakly. The screen showed the ruling council of his species. 5 ancient Zephyrians sat in a circle, their red eyes dim with defeat. Admiral Kethver, the eldest council member said, you are ordered to surrender immediately. The hegemony formally submits to human authority. What? Kethver couldn't believe what he was hearing. Our homeworld is surrounded by human and allied fleets, the council member continued. They have offered us terms. We will be allowed to survive as a species, but our empire is ended forever. We are to become a protectorate under human supervision. You're surrendering our entire civilization? We have no choice. The humans have demonstrated something we never believed possible. They have united our enemies against us. Every species we ever conquered is now working together. We cannot fight the entire galaxy. The transmission ended. Kethver sat in stunned silence as the reality sank in. His species, which had ruled over 12 galaxies for thousands of years, had been defeated in a single day. How? He asked General Webb. How did you do this? We did what you never learned to do, Admiral, the general replied. We listened. When the species you conquered told us about your empire, we didn't just gather military intelligence. We learned about your psychology, your weaknesses, your fears. Sarah took over the explanation. You see, Admiral, your species has one fatal flaw. You believe that strength comes from domination. You think that the only way to be safe is to make everyone else afraid of you, but that's not strength. That's just fear pretending to be power. Real strength, General Webb added, comes from cooperation, from building alliances, from helping others become stronger instead of making them weaker. That's what we did. While you were busy conquering, we were busy making friends. On the screen, images showed human ships helping to rebuild worlds that the hegemony had damaged. Former enemies working together to create something better than what they had before. But the warnings, Kethver said suddenly, the ancient beacons. They warned about humans being apex predators. Sarah and the general exchanged a look. Tell? Me, Admiral, Sarah said. What do you think put those warning beacons there? Kethver thought about it. The beacons had been ancient, thousands of years old, some of them even older than the hegemony itself. You mean ... There was another empire before yours, General Webb confirmed. The Dominion of the First Sun. They were just like you. Powerful, arrogant, convinced of their own superiority. They conquered most of this galaxy about 5,000 years ago. What happened to them? They ignored the warnings about humans, Sarah said simply, just like you did. The truth hit Kethver like a physical blow. You've done this before. Not U.S. personally, the general said, but our species, yes. Humans have been in this galaxy for a very long time, Admiral. Much longer than you realized. We've watched empires rise and fall. We've seen species conquer others and call it civilization. And when those empires become too dangerous, too cruel, we stop them. The beacons weren't put there by the species you conquered, Sarah explained. They were put there by the last survivors of the Dominion, as a warning to future empires. A warning that you chose to ignore. Kethver looked around his bridge. His officers sat at their stations in shock, listening to the destruction of everything they had believed in. What happens now? He asked. Now, you choose, General Webb said. You can keep fighting and die here in this system. Or you can surrender and help us build something better. What kind of something better? A galaxy where different species work together instead of conquering each other. Where strength comes from cooperation instead of domination. Where no one has to live in fear of invasion and slavery. Through the viewports, Kethver could see human and allied ships surrounding the remnants of his fleet. But they weren't firing. They were waiting. The species we freed are going to need help rebuilding, Sarah said. They're going to need protection while they recover. They're going to need someone who understands military organization and logistics. Someone who knows how to coordinate large-scale operations. You're offering me a job? We're offering your people a chance to be part of the solution instead of part of the problem, General Webb said. But only if you truly understand what you did wrong. Kethver looked at the tactical display one more time. His empire was gone. His fleet was destroyed. His species was defeated, but for the first time in his 400 years of conquest, he saw something he had never noticed before. In the images of human and allied ships working together, he saw what real strength looked like. I understand, he said quietly. "Do you?" Sarah asked. "Tell me what you understand, Admiral." Kethver was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice heavy with the weight of realization. "I understand that we were never as strong as we thought. Real strength isn't making others weak. It's helping them become strong. We conquered species, but you freed them. We ruled through fear, but you led through hope. We thought we were apex predators, but we were just bullies. And eventually someone always stands up to bullies." General Webb nodded slowly. "That's a good start, Admiral. The question now is, what are you going to do with that understanding?" Kethver stood up from his command chair. Around him, his bridge crew waited for his decision. "All ships," he said. Into his communicator, "This is Admiral Kethver. Power down all weapons. Lower all shields. We surrender unconditionally." As his flagship's weapons went dark, Kethver felt something strange. For the first time in centuries, he felt relief. The weight of maintaining an empire through fear and violence was finally lifted from his shoulders, outside his viewports. The stars looked different somehow. Instead of territories to conquer, they looked like possibilities to explore. The age of the hegemony was over, but perhaps if they were very lucky and worked very hard, the age of something better was just beginning.